What's up, guys, and what is going on? Welcome back to the Project 365 experience. Happy for you guys to join me this week. It's going to be a good one. I had a subject on my mind, and I wanted to talk about the three keys for a successful relationship.
You are now tuned in to the Project 365 experience.
If you guys haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube, Coach365, and on every social media platform, we're there, Coach365. So our subject, the keys to a successful relationship. And by this, when we hear the word relationship, we often think about romantic. The angle that I'm going to take to you guys is not really about a romantic approach. It could be a romantic, it could be involved that way, but we can think about, from a sport aspect, it could be from coach to player, or player to player, or even parent to children, or even sibling to sibling, right? So there's a lot of ways that we can start thinking about it. And I'm going to talk, there's obviously a lot of ways to make a successful relationship, but I'm going to look at three ways that I think are super important and that you guys can start thinking about to apply in your daily relationships. So number one, you gotta have trust, okay? And with trust, the reason why I say trust is super important is because trust allows you to be open with people. And you'll notice that these go 1, 2, and 3, they kind of all tie in together. You gotta have trust. Gotta be willing to build, gotta be willing to allow other people to see this side of you that a lot of times you don't necessarily allow others to see. And that gets tricky, especially when you're in an environment, right? So if I'm a basketball player and I'm talking in a basketball context, most of the time people are going to base their identity of what they think or what they see of me off of basketball context. So anytime I have this opportunity to have these conversations, have these talks with people outside of a basketball environment, that builds into our relationship from player to player or coach to coach in outside of the environment. And then when you bring it into the environment, you'll notice that a lot of times your relationship sort of changes, right? So you hear a lot of people talk about it's important for you guys to be close on and off the court. Well, the off the court things translate into on the court. And without even noticing, you might pay attention, you might see, hey, a team is moving the ball, a team is doing the extra pass, right? Well, in sports, the ball is the trust. If I'm going to give it to you, I have to trust that you're going to make the right decisions with it. And a lot of times just being able to have trust opens that up. And for you to build that, you got to be willing to have these uncomfortable moments where you allow people to kind of see the side of you, right? And also you got to be willing to be really vulnerable and open. Vulnerable and open doesn't mean that you have to let people see you in a down spot. It just means that a lot of times you got to be open to having people giving feedback or being able to communicate even when it's hard. Hard conversations is what allows this trust to build. And you got to be willing to put yourself in that environment. But in team sports or in business sports or just like in general, it's up to the person who's in charge to create that environment for his workers, for coaches to build that environment for their players to allow them to become closer. So you got to be willing to make a no judgment zone where, hey, players can talk to each other and communicate as open as they want to without fear of judgment. When they have fear of judgment, that's when players shut down, and you don't want that. You really want the relationship, the trust to build. Number 2 is communication. You gotta be willing to talk. Tying back into number 1, communication is you got to be willing and open to have these communications even when you don't want to. So a lot of times what they'll say is that I heard a coach say this, when the first person who communicates is right. So what that means is that just being able to have that conversation, just being able to shoot it forward, that allows for the conversation to be able to go back and forth. And now relating back to point number 1, you got to be willing to create that environment. If you're a coach, if you're a business leader and your workers, you got to be willing to have that environment where players can talk, workers can talk, and just not be afraid that, hey, this person is telling this to hurt my feelings. No, this person is doing this because they want it. They understand that we have to get the job done and there's some things that we have to do. Okay. Number 3, you You guys are not gonna like number 3. Patience. Gotta have a lot of patience. Gotta understand that relationships are not built from day one. Relationships are built through time. The more time that it takes, you got to stick with the process. You got to be able to understand that there are certain situations that you're going to be in where certain problems, they'll take some time to resolve. And even when there's not problems, just being able to have that trust, it takes some time, right? So patience is a big one. And patience is one that a lot of people struggle with because we're in a society nowadays where we want the quick fix. We want stuff to go fast. We want to have it right now. We want to have it right now. But there are certain things that are better done on the stove, better done when you cook them on the stove in the pan, then you put things in the microwave. So that's all I got for you guys. If you haven't already subscribe, Coach365, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, we're all on it, Coach365. And it's been a pleasure. This is Coach O signing off. Hope you have a great start to your week. Peace.